What's in the box?
Hey everybody, it's Jason Dean with the Joe Blow Movie Network, and we're celebrating the wide release of Interstellar this week by counting down our top 10 favorite movies set in space. Let's get started. Number 10 is a classic that I bet most of you know references from, but maybe have never actually watched. It's 2001: A Space Odyssey. Stanley Kubrick was pretty optimistic about where we would be in 2001 in regards to space travel, but disregarding that year, it stands as one of the most iconic movies ever set in space, with the signature Kubrick imagery and style present in all of his films. With 2001 being the oldest movie on our list, we actually jump to the newest movie on our list here at number 9. It's Guardians of the Galaxy, landing here as a Joe Blow staff favorite, as well as a favorite around the world if you're one of the fans who helped the box office out at the end of last summer. James Gunn came out of nowhere by presenting us with a tremendously good time based on an obscure property, which was Marvel's riskiest gamble so far. Is it too much to say that it invoked that same kind of childhood giddiness that Star Wars did? You tell me down below. We're cheating a bit here on number 8, but that's because Joe Blow himself couldn't decide which one of these to include. And I couldn't argue with him, so we made number 8 a combination of the classic Paul Verhoeven movies, Total Recall and Starship Troopers. I also happen to love both of these movies from beginning to end for a variety of reasons, and even though it's not in space, just add my love for RoboCop into this list as well. Total Recall and Starship Troopers are probably some of the most stylistic approaches to sci-fi within the genre that actually worked as intended. Number 7 is probably the most obscure movie on this list, and that is sad. Moon lands at number 7, and even with a small budget, still ends up being one of the most capable sci-fi films while also delivering a total mind job on the audience. This is a feature-length version of a story you might see as an Outer Limits episode or some early Twilight Zone segments. But make no mistake, it's not just a single punchline. It's a great ride all the way to the end, and an excellent casting choice in Sam Rockwell. Number 6 is Galaxy Quest. You know, because sometimes we all need humor in our sci-fi. I remember when the first trailer showed up for this movie, a lot of my friends were complaining about how bad it was going to be. But boy, were they wrong. This movie took a lot of well-known actors from major sci-fi roles, particularly Sigourney Weaver, and turned the entire genre on its head in some biting satire that is never really mean, but definitely on point. I love sci-fi parodies anyway, but this is the best thing since Shatner showed up in Airplane 2. Number 5 is arguably the best Star Trek feature film still today. And don't roll your eyes, I said arguably. If you can name one better, tell me I'm wrong in the comments. Star Trek: The Wrath of Khan really has it all. The character development is fantastic, the pacing is well done, the moments of greatness are present, such as the reveal of the work of Genesis, the deaths of minor and major characters handled so appropriately, the ending crescendo of a World War II-style submarine battle based on the Commander's Battle of Wits. This movie is almost flawless. I should know because I once wrote a thesis on this movie. True story. Number 4 is Star Wars: A New Hope. And all at once I can hear a million voices cry out in agony that this is at number 4 and not at 1. But wait for the rest of the list before you judge. It's true that this movie is responsible for a massive resurgence of sci-fi at the time, but also even more important, it finally made people take sci-fi seriously instead of the typical campy perception most people had of it. On top of that, it gave birth to the idea of massive film merchandising. For good and for bad, meaning we got the toys as kids and the collectibles as adults, but we also got the horrible breakfast cereals and the cheap Happy Meals crap. Number 3 is Alien. Most people refer to this film as sci-fi, but major film buffs consider this a horror movie that just happens to be set in space. Regardless of the camp you come from, no one can argue that it does both really, really well. Not only does it give you the jump scares and the tangible terror of death lurking in the shadows, but the environment is totally believable based on the sound and set design of the time. The special effects of the alien itself still hold up today, even if the pacing of the movie doesn't. Number 2 is arguably the best Star Wars ever. Once again, I await your comments to tell me if you agree with this one or not. I bet most of you will. It's Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back. The best tragic space adventure we can still watch over and over. These days, the hype surrounding the sequel of something like the original Star Wars would be so high, no movie could ever live up to its predecessor. But in this case, Empire took everything that made New Hope great and just made it bigger and better and even deeper in mythology. The addition of Yoda alone created more of an impact on the Star Wars universe than almost any single part of the original. And our number 1 favorite movie set in space, at least according to the Joe Blow staff, is James Cameron's Aliens. I have to say this is definitely going to be controversial, but I will step up to the plate and defend it until the bitter end. I can watch this movie over and over and never tire of Hicks, Hudson, Ripley, and the rest of the team. I can hear the soundtrack right now in my head without ever turning it on. I can quote pretty much every scene, and I love the story's pacing and structure from beginning to end. A lot of this can be said about Star Wars, Star Trek, and many others, but this movie creates such a believable future where the equipment may have changed, but the people sure haven't. This has to be one of the most realistic approaches to a future military in any movie out there. And that wraps up this week's Joe Blow Top 10. Remember, this was our staff's favorites, and it was hard to make this final list since we considered a lot of other movies like Sunshine, Event Horizon, Gravity, WALL-E, Apollo 13, among others. If you agreed with our list, tell us below. If you disagree, give me your list down below. Either way, I want to hear from you, so chime in and start a discussion. I'm Jason Dean, see you next time, and thanks for watching.